Thank you. I am currently building workouts for our athletes and our programs. And so this is my weekly segment I'm going to call Ask the Coach. You guys can ask any question that you want. I will do my best to answer it in terms of performance, business, training, personal development. Last week I posted and I had some typed in. And so I'm going to go ahead and reach out to those. And so we're going to answer the questions I had from last week. If you guys have any additional questions, let me know. Hey, Zach, what's up? Thank you, Mohi Performance. I hope I said that right. Yeah. Appreciate that. We try and put out as much good content as possible. There's just so much information out there that I want to give you guys and show my work as well, what quality is there. And so I appreciate the love and just kind of let me know that you agree that our content is good. So I'm going to go to some of the questions I had the other day, and I'm going to push there. Oh, cool. So it's actually popping up on my computer as well as you guys talk to me and comment. And so let me know some more if you got it. All right. So some of the questions I got last week, I'm just going to kind of fill these questions in while you guys possibly give me questions or just kind of listen to me yap. Is somebody asked, how many Pop-Tarts should I eat between my sets? I think this is a great question. In fact, one of my studies was on how carbohydrates positively affects velocity performance. And it was in barbell athletes we used because we could quantify how fast a bar moves. I think it extrapolates out to other areas of athletics, throwing a ball, running some sprints. And so we showed that carbohydrates do positively affect performance in training. In our particular study, we saw that if you are consuming a glucose subproduct after a fatiguing set, your secondary sets had higher velocity than your fasted sets. And so, for example, we had athletes perform 10 sets of one at a certain load, rest, they got a placebo or a carbohydrate, and then 10 more sets. And the second 10 sets had higher velocity than the first sets. And then when the people were on placebo, we saw a certain velocity and then a decrease in velocity. Whereas with carbohydrates, increase in velocity. So Pop-Tarts, how many should we have per set? I did a little math. I thought about one of my, Olympic weightlifting workouts. How many Pop-Tarts would I consume? I'm going to eat the entire pack, obviously. And so I calculated that you need to consume 0.0014 Pop-Tarts per kilogram lifted. It's the best ratio. For me, that gets me 2 Pop-Tarts for a full workout. And so 0.0014 Pop-Tarts per kilogram weight lifted. So somebody made a comment or a question, Justin Kaizen. I'm not going to read that question. I hope that nobody sees that question. If you guys have any questions or concerns, last week I got a lot of questions on my programming and my programming strategies. So for example, I have some just notes. I have a master calendar and I have my small notes here. And so I'm writing out what we do. I'm going to go through some of the other questions we had from last week. If you guys have any thoughts, questions, if you want me to read some of your thoughts out as well. I'm only doing this for the last 20 minutes of my programming session today. And so while I'm finishing up, if you guys interject, I'll give you something good. And if you guys have something you want me to read that you think is valuable, I'll read it as well. So this is also a sign I had to make. It's backwards. You can see behind me, all this stuff is backwards. I feel like I should get a like or a share or a double tap or a wave or something just from making this backwards so you guys can read that it says Ask the Coach. Somebody else asked if I still make burger balls. So I guess my last anecdote before I get into the work, and you guys can possibly let me know if you have any other questions. In college, I cooked for a lot of staff members when I was on staff, and I got the 80-20, which has a lot of fat. And while I was cooking, my grill caught on fire. And all the patties, which I had kind of flattened out that were 80-20s, because it caught on fire, it pulled all the fat out of it and it turned them into little balls. And so I had to serve like 30 staff members meatballs instead of hamburgers. And so, you know what? It still had the protein and the nutritional value. It did not fit on the bun as well. I'm not that disappointed. It happens, I'm proud to have served burger balls to those staff members. All right, once again, I'm going to continue programming, punching it out. If you have any questions, business, your personal training and development, my business and training strategies, how we do anything athletically or functionally around here, drop them, let them know. More throwback content. I don't even know what that means, Zach. Appreciate that input. Zach might be referring to this is my third location as a business owner. He helped with establishing some of the other spots. And so we have grown a lot in the past 8 years to get to this point now. Our current facility is 12,000 square feet. We have like 6,000+ square feet of turf. I have 2 different weight rooms. We have a kitchen that offers nutrition and development. And so we have a lot of things that we have put in here that the old places could have never dreamed of. So once again, hit me up, questions, concerns. We're just doing this to kind of engage at whatever level. I do this sometimes on TikTok. Now I'm getting here. What is my take? Thank you, Justin. What's my take on kids playing 2 to 3 sports in high school? Tons of value if the kid likes the sport. There is an over-exaggeration on believing that if somebody is playing a sport in high school, it means that they are going to get better at a secondary sport. And it's going to give them a depth of like movement IQ. They're going to get new sports knowledge. They're going to get skills. Building skills in any area of your life do translate to specific skills that you're working on. However, if you're a starting football player and then you're a starting basketball player and then you're starting at track, you might just be a really good natural athlete. And so that just gives you a chance to do that and play these different areas. But if you play a really skill-dependent sport, baseball, basketball, golf, something that requires the skill level to be at or above the athletic level, playing multiple sports towards the end of your high school career may not be the best option for you. If I am a eat, sleep, breathe baseball player and I don't really like basketball, I don't really like football, my junior, senior seasons where it's very important that I have great skill, great touch, I'm going to go and try and play in college, I might want to spend those 6 months working on my craft and not just playing like another sport, just a different sport. And so those are my inputs and my thoughts on that. I'd recommend getting a lot of sports when you're young, seeing what you like, and then progressing into a specific sport as you're a little bit older. I got another one. Thanks, Mbex. He says, loves my content, and then please keep it coming. Our games are huge. Our games are the third portion of our athletic development when we train kids in footwork. And I think that's a growing thing. When I first started doing games and I was, illustrating footwork, it was not as popular. It was more taboo. They wanted the drills to be so machined and just show this kid is perfectly doing this cone and they look like a robot doing this. Personally, I love competing at anything. Ultimate Frisbee, powerlifting, football, whatever I did, I loved competing at any level. And I just said, hey, let's take athletic development and let's gamify it from the 7-year-olds to the 27-year-olds. And it has been phenomenal because we'll teach kids a skill and we'll constrain it to where they're doing a skill and they're doing a pattern and they're going through reps. They're not really thinking about anything other than what their feet, body, and arms are doing in that cone. And then we'll add an element like a tennis ball, or you're trying to tag a friend in like a small space where you have a time to do a drill. And then that third component, which has really made us popular on Instagram and social media platforms, is the game, the competitive aspect. Getting in the dirt and applying as many tools as you have against another opponent. And we've really seen kids crush agility shuttle times, which is like a base metric, as well as just having confidence to do moves on courts. And so I think that's the future of development, is getting away from robotic training and getting into more fluid and reactive training, which takes me to like when you see like athletes lifting weights as well, there's a lot of people that like very robotic looking weight rooms where like maybe you're doing reps on the whistle, or maybe, you have this very like robot uniform like everybody's got to do. And since athletes are built different and they might achieve the same goal in the same spectrum of quality with a different path, I think we should also expand that to the weight room. A really great study was done on these iron workers, and they showed that it wasn't perfectly swinging the hammer the same way every single time. It was achieving the same end goal and adjusting on the swing how to hit it. And so instead of teaching everyone to be a robot, let's achieve the same end goal, but they're going to find their own path and pattern that works pretty well. That's right, organized chaos. It is a great way to 100% look at it. Somebody asked, high school related, do you think it is a lot on athletes to do speed work in the morning, workout in the middle of the day, and then track practice after school? That's a great question. A lot of it depends on the recoverability of an athlete. And so in my professional opinion, there is and many others, there's just a threshold of certain attributes you can do. And so when the lowest threshold is velocity and power, you only have so much speed that you can generate per day, per recovery period. So in a training session, my velocity goes down the fastest, my speed goes down the fastest, fatigue goes. And so you only have so many high quality, high output sprints per hour and per day. And so if you're starting your session with shorter distance, speedier reps, and then finishing your day with larger volume, mid-distance, mid-speed reps, you can totally sneak in all of those sessions as an athlete. But if you're doing high speed in the morning, high speed in the middle of the day, high speed at the end of the day, you're going to start to stack slow reps and accumulate fatigue that you may not recover from and may not see a positive change from. So that'd be my biggest worry, is if I'm doing morning, midday, and afternoon speed and track workouts, I might not be developing speed. I might be introducing stress that is not recoverable. But if you're doing high speed, short distance, and then strength training in the middle of the day, and then mid distance, longer distance, or technical work at some other point of the day, easily do all three of those, easily see positive effect. And so that's how I would approach that. And so if you're implementing that, that's the best way to get it. So I hope I answered your question a little bit. I hope that helped you out and just thinking about it. High school kids are resilient. College kids are less resilient. Adults are barely resilient. And so the younger you are, the more you can stack for sure and get a lot of results. Thank you for your question. If any of you other have any questions on performance, programming, long-term periodization, let me know, drop it. Let me kind of keep rambling. I got about 15 more minutes till I got to get out of the office. And so let me know. Also, if you want to watch this again later, awesome. I'm glad that helped a little bit. And if you have any other thoughts or questions as well, a lot of people, are worried about kids getting quote unquote burnt out or overtrained, but really it's just under recovery, and then keeping it, a lot of variability keeps kids more mentally engaged, and adults, obviously. And so if somebody's going to be burnt out from track, let's add as much variety as we can while still achieving the same goal. That goes back to like our footwork thing. We're rotating these different games that basically you have to win the same way. You have to run it this way. You have to do these particular movements in this timeline and achieve the goal. But the variety makes it really fun. So kids are showing up in season to come drill and game with us. And so that's a great way also if you're just getting a lot of track practice, a lot of reps in, variety. So, like I said, guys, drop it. Oh, I was going to say, we're going to probably take this and almost podcast it, put it on YouTube. And so if you like this content, you can go follow us on YouTube. Same number, same business. So happy and healthy fast. Yeah, no, that's a good one. I like that. Happy, healthy, fast. A lot of kids, that's what they need. I got a wow. Thank you for my wow. If any of you guys have any questions or concerns, it doesn't have to just be about training. I'm in the private sector, and so I also have thoughts on business, performance, all that and in between. And so just let me know, and I'm here to. How do I go about youth training? I probably lose a lot of potential customers on youth training because I'm not giving them the jargon they want. I have too many times gotten an email from a dad. My kid is a pitcher only. My kid needs arm strength. My kid needs all this core development. I want to do one-on-one training with you. I need all of these specific things. And then I'll email back, absolutely. We have a lot of kids that are kind of in that niche category. How old is your kid? What's your schedule? What's their, primary sport other than baseball or something? I'll be like, my kid's 9. And so I have to put the brakes on. I have to say, hey, your kid has really a lot of other developmental areas it needs to touch. She needs to touch, whatever they are, before we specify to those parameters you're setting. And so we have a youth development program where it is extremely gamified. So it's very like everything we do has some kind of game play component. We focus more on proprioception through all quadrants. And so we're talking hand walks, body walks, balances, jumps, rolls. I actually have an annual calendar where we're going through 12 different segments of like, this is the movement quality. We want to work on movement quality. We do strength train them, but we really never go under 5 reps. So it's a larger volume than I would suggest for some of my older kids. And And then we are running and decelerating every day. And to them, it's just a slowly but exhausting day of just game. But for us, it's a balanced drill game. It's a power game drill where we're doing something explosive. We're going into the weight room where we're doing lots of reps, but there's a lot of like chanting and stuff that we work on with them so they remember their form. Then we go into, hello, Samson. And then we go into some kind of running. So either straight line running or change of direction running. But it's like drilling that feels like a game and then legit a game to finish the class. And so these kids, 7 to 11, prepubescent, their parents are onto it once they see it. They're like, oh, like you said it's gamified, but like I can see the drills. The kids don't realize they're drilling. And so that's how my approach to youth training, and has been pretty successful. We always have a packed house. We just do scare away some more zealous parents. Another question I got was, at what age do you think you could do something with sports and lifting? So as I went to a small school, I lost a lot of weight going into high school, and so I leaned out and got pretty athletic. And that was the first step of like, well, I can make my body do things that I wanted to do for sports. So I think I can make it college ready per se. I was like a freshman in high school when I kind of had that first thought. I wrestled varsity as a freshman. I ran track varsity as a freshman. And then I got to go at least get some reps in playoffs varsity as a sophomore for football. Those are my 3 sports I did in high school. And so probably when I was a sophomore, I was like, if I'm already at this level, I've already reached like the highest level of my high school, at least being on the field wise, not metrics wise. I think I really want to do this at the high level. When I was a junior, I was the strongest kid in my high school. I was almost the strongest kid in my high school by the end of my sophomore year. But like the start of junior season, I was like the strongest kid in my high school. Once again, it was a small school. And so I had all these like, I think this is for me. I think I can play sports at the next level. Junior year, now small school, I didn't do any exposure camps. I didn't do any camps whatsoever. I literally just played the season, went to the next sport, played the season. And so even then I was getting letters from some small schools, D3s, JUCOs in my locker my junior year. And so I was like, I think I'm going to go play in college. And since I was getting D3 letters my junior year, I was like, I can at least play D2. And so my senior year, I wound up deciding to come to Midwestern in Wichita Falls, which is where we are, to play ball. And then I was able to transition into competitive powerlifting in college as well and do a ton of big school meets like A&M and UT and UNT and UTD and all these other schools that were just getting into the sport of powerlifting. And I did pretty well. And then I started coaching. And so to answer your question, basically, early in high school, I think I had a shot. And no matter what people said, I at least like put in the work. I ate, slept, breathed, football and weight room and all that good stuff. And so that helped. Seeing if I had any other questions. Once again, guys, any questions, let me know. Give me a holler. Shout out to Justin for asking more than one question already. Oh, Gabby. Do you purposely pick the worst pictures of me to post? All right, Gabby. I do apologize and I feel bad. I have a lot of videos on my phone where people get juked or wrecked or something, and I only post the ones of the kids I know that have the confidence to see themselves not winning a rep and at least be like, whatever, I'm going to come back and get somebody next week. And so if you ever get posted not winning, I believe in your confidence level. There are some people where we will not post them getting wrecked because we don't want them to feel bad. And so take that as a compliment, Gabby. Take it as a solid compliment. And unfortunately, the videos of people getting juked out in a footwork drill do 10 times better than the drills where it's a very even match. So I apologize. Remember, guys, if you have any questions, any thoughts, please drop them. I'll be in the office for 9 more minutes as I continue to finish this week's programming. However, I would love for you guys to ask so many questions I don't even get to look at my computer. Like I said, I'll be putting this on YouTube. And if there's just a dull moment, I'll probably just have to edit out the part where I'm not actually answering questions. I've been told many, many times, do a podcast. I got a face for radio, so I can talk. But I think this is a good way to go because it engages with you guys right off the bat. You know, we'll see a couple hundred people over the next 20 minutes and hopefully answer some cool questions. So once again, ask. If you guys have any questions, please ask. I'll drop my answers and let you guys know. Once again, guys, any questions you might have, it doesn't have to be just about your training. It can be about your programming for athletes. If you have a thought you'd like for me to read out, I can read out your thought. If you want to ask about business on private sector, any of those things, drop it. Please, much appreciated. If not, give us a like, a wave, a comment, anything like that. Helps me, want to do these more often. What you guys, yeah? What do you got, Gabby? Do you think it's more beneficial to weight train more rather than agility for a thrower? And what country produces the strongest human beings, in your opinion? Top 5. Thank you both for your questions. As a thrower, it's 100% better probably to weight train. However, throwing an object is such a concentric dominant movement. You're in a small space. You have to unload with a very small amount of eccentric load. And so weight training is probably your best, but the style of weight training I recommend for a thrower is typically on the upward action rather on the lowering action, or to work on your isometric strength. And so if you think of like a discus thrower, you're spinning to create velocity, but you really don't get a lot of momentum. You're not running into it. You have to swing, rotate through your hips, and then you're isometrically holding knees, hips, ankles, part of your trunk, your arms extended. And so things that you would want to work on: concentric overload, how can I produce more force vertically without an eccentric action, and then isometric, how much force can I generate or maintain without any joint angle change. And then thirdly, you got to throw things and move things explosively that are adjacent to your technique, but not your technique. And so, for example, in our baseball program, we throw a lot of med balls, and we're using some of the same kinetic chain actions as a baseball bat, or as a baseball bat swing, or as a baseball throw, or softball throw, but we're adding a much heavier load. We're changing the arm positions, and so it becomes a more full body toss, which in turn typically helps our kids throw and hit a little bit better. And so strength training is definitely your best option. Agility is a great tool to have outside. So if you weren't a thrower and you were any other athlete, I would say like probably a lot of both. And then my next question that I was asked, what country produces the strongest human beings, in your opinion? Top 5. It's a tough question. Because you can think of like the 3 primary strength sports is strongman, powerlifting, Olympic weightlifting. Olympic weightlifting requires such a low catching position, such a fast drop that you're actually seeing more Asian countries. And by Asian countries, we're talking China and like Russia. Their shin to thigh ratio allows them to drop extremely fast into a low squat and catch heavy weights without a large flexibility response. Whereas your more Western Europeans have longer femurs and therefore have to lean forward more to typically hit the same angles. And so 2 primary countries we're already going to is your Eastern Bloc, like your Russia, your Bulgaria, your China. When we were talking strongman, these are your more what I would call like deadlift dominant builds. They are able to generate a lot of force using hips and spine with less, legs are involved still, but less legs. And so now we're talking like your Norwegian countries, your German, Iceland, Greenland areas, Scotland, stuff like that, where it's just about like, can you torque your body into position to lift hundreds of pounds? We have the Denny stones in Scotland, which are literally just 2 rocks with anchors on them that weigh 700 pounds that people just go and lift. Like that's the whole part of we use these and we realized, hey, can you guys lift them? So many Scottish people could lift them and other people couldn't. It became a world-known thing. And then honestly, America has some of the strongest freaking people in the world. They just don't do weightlifting sports. They play professional football or they play baseball or something else that makes a ton more money. And so right there, America, we have Russia, China, we have like your Bulgaria, or Bulgaria's Russia, China. And then we have your like Greenland, Iceland, Germany, Scotland. So pretty strong places. It just depends on what you're trying to do or achieve. Click the wrong thing. All right, guys. So if you have any questions left, holler. I appreciate those who did ask questions. I appreciate those that are engaging in the conversation. Let me know. Ask Coach. It could be for you. Georgia's strong. Georgia's an Eastern Bloc as a country. Georgia is an Eastern Bloc country, and so they can be a part of that as well. I kind of tied all of them together. I could have said Ukraine as well. Ukraine and Russia, though, they're same, different. And so I took all the Eastern Blocs and I said same, because they're all just Asian country, but they're like Caucasian people. And so, Caucasian. I got 3 more minutes on Ask the Coach, guys. Let me know. I do appreciate the questions. I don't think I'll ever go to full podcast mode. I think every guy thinks that they could rock a podcast and become the next superstar. But I just like chatting about performance. I like chalk talking. And so I want to give information that I have and also chew on my thoughts, because you ask a question and then I'm like, think about it. And so let me know if you still have any questions. Absolutely here to talk about it and to help. And if there are no questions, I'll probably just cut this part out when it's on YouTube. Once again, I'll be putting this on YouTube, guys. So you're more than welcome to try and watch it all whenever it's on YouTube. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. I hope maybe one day I do podcast it up and I get after it. But for now, I think this is my way to go. And just share some knowledge and talk to cool people who ask awesome questions and are clearly like doing the same thing as me and are passionate like I am as well. Last minute, guys. Anybody have any thoughts or questions? Anything you want me to read out? This is pretty good. I mean, this was about 30 straight minutes of conversation. Last question. What gets me the most excited as a coach? A kid hitting his PR or somebody making someone fall from a juke? I get most pumped up when I see like a kid's milestone. So not just like a PR. I mean, we're seeing hundreds to thousands of PRs every month. I mean, every kid has up to 9 PRs that we're recording, plus the tiny ones throughout the month that we don't even like write down. And so I get super pumped up when I see a kid who hits a huge milestone that they've been chasing. So for example, our current approach record is held by Keaton Bristow. He's a high school kid for high school kids. And he sent me a picture like a few weeks ago of a goal card. We give all these kids once a month, they have a card and they have to fill it out. It's like, what do I identify as? What are my bad habits, my good habits? What are my goals? And he sent me one, and it was like his current approach, which he had been with us for about a year at that point, was like 35 or 34 inches. And he saw that the record was 40 inches. And so he wrote down he wanted to have the approach record at 40 inches. And it was like a year ago. And now he has the approach record at 41 inches. And so he had written down a year plus ago what he wanted to do. And then every month it was a half inch closer, an inch closer. You know, okay, we went down an inch. We were playing a lot of travel ball. We went up a couple inches. And he sent it to me, he goes, I found my old goal card in my room and it's got the record on it that I finally broke. And so that was crazy cool for me, just to see like a year. Like for me, I'm in the weeds. That was huge. I love the process. That's a good point. I love the process. As a strength or performance coach or a private sector guy, I'm so much of the process, none of the product. And so I love the process, which keeps me doing my job. And then now I get to go and watch these kids compete at the highest level that they can do and like enjoy the product. And then there's one more question. How do I teach frontside mechanics? So he's talking probably about running, frontside mechanics on running. Typically only at top speeds am I mostly worried about frontside mechanics. This is a good question. This is a very technical question. And a lot of kids, especially sport athletes, do not run very well in their cyclical actions, and they do not foot strike very well. And so a lot of them, instead of running and striking under the hips and then pushing through, they are running more behind. They're striking and they're having to throw their feet up higher. And so that's how you see a lot of hamstring injuries, because they're not getting frontside and under, frontside and under, frontside and under. And so I like a strategy called dribbles. Dribbles are where we teach the kids how to do cyclical actions and under hip actions at slower speeds. And then we will apply them with flying reps, and then we'll start to apply them over full distances. And so a lot of people love wickets. I'm not a huge fan of wickets. Don't roast me. Don't burn me at the fire, because wickets take a long time to set up, and you'll have the spacing is so nuanced depending on the kid. And so you'll have one kid who might be 6'5" doing wickets next to a kid who's 5'8". And so they're going to have to adjust so aggressively to the same spacing. Now, if you have one kid and you want to do wickets, absolutely, you can kind of manipulate it for them. But what dribbles allows us to do is we're practicing the same motion and we're teaching them the same action. And as we do it in like a slow warm up, we get that technique. And then a fly where we go, we build up speed. And then between two cones, practice that action. And then eventually you race where you have to build up from your start mechanics to your drive phase into your acceleration phase into your top phase where front side mechanics really matters. And so I'm a dribble guy. Takes no time to set up, just takes more time to teach. But it has been a breakthrough for so many of our kids on that top end speed. And so great question. Not a lot of track guys out there. And so it's good to talk track with people. Track's not super popular around here. I was not a fast kid naturally, and so I had to teach myself and learn from other good coaches how to run. And so that was my challenge. Guys, thank you for your questions. This was a good Q&A and a drop. I'll be here again Friday next week with my backwards sign. It's backwards to me. It's straight to you guys. Until then, be the best you. Appreciate you guys. Adios.